الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد صدق الله العلي العظيم. My dear respected, most honorable Shuyukh, my honorable father, elders, beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I made the mistake of informing people that our start time was 2:30, but alhamdulillah, people arrived. Now we know that we don't always have to be late. Some of us can arrive earlier as opposed to even just really arriving on time. First of all, welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan. Allah accept your attendance here today, your participation here today. We first and foremost begin, as is necessary for us to do so, by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by glorifying and praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for enabling us with this unique and wonderful opportunity to congregate in one of His houses for the sole purposes of worshipping Him, glorifying Him, and to send salutations upon His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal will continue to facilitate these kinds of opportunities for us in the future, inshallah. Since you're among the very first to arrive, normally I'd say, brothers, please come closer together so we can create more space. But since you're among the very first to arrive, and those of you who are leaning up against walls, I'm not going to say anything to you. You can continue leaning up against the walls, irrespective of how old you are, or all the medical problems. You can stay there. I'm not going to tell you to move forward. We are going to begin the event very soon, and inshallah, you're going to listen to the beloved Quran, your beloved Quran, our beloved Quran, the recitation in the most melodious of voices. You're going to have the honor of listening to the praise of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're going to listen to some fantastic talks by unbelievable scholars among them. We thank my staff, my teacher, Ustad Muhammad Sahib, who has travelled all the way down from Radford to be with us today, as he has done so on many occasions before. So this is Sheikh's first visit to Southampton, and it's certainly, inshallah, it won't be the last. Sheikh Nadi, I think you've been here before to Southampton. This is your second time. And these individuals are here for, again, one purpose, and that purpose is to contribute, to facilitate contribution, and to inspire. And that's ultimately what we're here to gain. We have, this is an opening of Al-Hayat Center, but there's something from each event or gathering, every single time that we sit down to converse with one another, we gather together, there has to be a reason. We have to ensure that we allow ourselves or open ourselves up to being inspired. We have to learn something, take something away from it. And if there's anything that I feel that we can take away from today, aside from the scholars and their talks, it's gratitude, it's thankfulness, because I certainly am at that position, in that place where I'm extremely grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for putting us in this position, for enabling us to be here. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. 6 months ago, I was unsure whether I was going to stay in Southampton, and I was contemplating leaving. 6 months down the line, well, the 1st of June, alhamdulillah, with the support of my father, and the du'as of our parents. And that's what I'm going to focus on today. When I have the privilege of speaking for those short moments, especially for some of our young children. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to ensure that we sort of fire at them, we tell them, we inform them as much as we possibly can that they have to honor their parents. And what a blessing that is. With my father's wonderful support and assistance, as it has been throughout my life, we were able to purchase this building on the 1st of June. And to think, within 3 to 4 months, we're at the stage where we are now. It's a magnificent achievement, not by myself, but for all of those individuals within our community who have assisted us, who have contributed, who have helped, and some of them are still working here right now as we speak. Allah honor them and accept this service from them, inshallah. There are some of our brothers who are praying their salah a little bit late, so I won't start with the recitation of the Quran just as of yet. But I now will request some of the brothers, please do come forward. Please come forward. Do come forward. MashaAllah, we have some of our young students here as well. And it's imperative that aside from just celebrating something, that they take something away from it, they learn something from and be inspired from today's kind of gathering. I'm a normal person, there's nothing special about me, and if I was able to facilitate something or do something which I'm passionate about, then they too can be inspired to do the same. And that's something that we should be encouraging, these qualities that we should be encouraging within them. You need not look further than the Prophet ﷺ and his way, his da'wah, his approach to encouraging, especially the youngest of his companions. How the Prophet ﷺ empathized with them, how he would sympathize with them, how he became one of them. Just on Yom Jum'ah, for those of you who are here, I mentioned the story of Abu Umair. Abu Umair, he was the brother of Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala. He was a companion of the Prophet, a very small, young companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had this nightingale, this big bird. It's called a Nughayr, that he would often play with. And this Nughayr, which he would play with, one day it died, and Abu Umair was extremely grief-stricken. He was upset, and the Prophet ﷺ came across him, and he inquired as to why he was so upset. And he was informed that that bird, his pet bird, that nightingale, has died. And the Prophet ﷺ, he could have said, "Oh well, it's okay, don't worry, there's plenty more birds out there, you can have another one," like we would do if we were trying to encourage our children. I'll give you another one, I'll give you a better pet than you already had before. But the Prophet ﷺ, he understood this child had a personal attachment to that bird, and he was attached to it. So he sat down with that child and said, "Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala Nughayr." Oh Umair, what has the Nughayr done? I said, "Why has the Nughayr left us?" And he sympathized, he understood the feelings and the emotions of a young child. And these are things that we have to understand. This is, in fact, one of the primary reasons as to why this center has been established, is for to educate and to inspire, especially the young people, because we're here today, we won't be here tomorrow. It's this generation that needs encouragement, they need inspiration. And rather than looking to their video games and their TV screens and their movies and their Marvel heroes to be inspired by, let's give them the perfect of role models for them to follow. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. And certainly in the Messenger of Allah, you have the most perfect of examples for you to follow. Now we have a duty, we're duty bound to ensure that our children understand what a representation means. It's our, as representatives of the Prophet ﷺ, that's a massive title. That's something extremely heavy. You're a representative of the greatest being. You're a representative of Khayru Khalqillah, the best of Allah's creation, who was perfect in every way. You're a representative of perfection. And it's imperative, therefore, and this is why you'll find this characteristic in young children. You know, children are not inspired by mediocrity. They're inspired by excellence. They're not inspired by mediocrity, they're inspired by excellence, they're inspired by the best of something. I'm going to give you an example, right? We've got some young children here. Tayyib, what's your favorite football team? Man United. See, Manchester United, that's his favorite football team. Why did he say Man United? He didn't say Wickham Wanderers. He's from my Wickham, by the way. He's not from Southampton. But I can assure you, there's some young, if I ask your name, do you have a favorite football team? No, you don't. Mikhail Zachary, do you have a favorite football team? No. You don't. You don't like football? That's a first. Sammy. Liverpool. There's the person who I want to speak to. Yes, absolutely, that's the right team. Liverpool. You notice how Sammy, born and raised here in Southampton, didn't say Southampton FC, or Tayyib didn't say Wickham Wanderers Football Club. Not because they have anything against those teams, and they don't like the cities or the towns that they're from. It's because they're inspired by excellence. You see, if I ask Tayyib if he wants to be a footballer, and he aspires to be a footballer, and who's he inspired by? He's going to mention the likes of Messi and Ronaldo and Mohamed Salah and all of these great players. His aspirations are not to play for his local Sunday league team. His aspirations are to be the best in his field that he can possibly be. So in order for us to make them and encourage our children to be inspired by the Prophet ﷺ, we have to become the best representatives of the Prophet ﷺ that we can be. We have to beautify the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ for them. That's not to say that the Sunnah isn't beautiful, it is. But they need to show that. We need to exhibit it to them. They need to be able to see what the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ looks like. You see, I was talking to one of our teachers here, Ustad Al-Hayat, earlier, and we were talking about a few days ago about our time in Azhar in Egypt. I remember in Jamiat Azhar, in the second or the third year, there was one of the many subjects that we had to learn. It was called Wasa'il Tabligh, right? Ways in which to do tabligh, ways in which to honor and inspire people to accept the message of Islam, to spread the message of Islam. And the Shaykh who compiled the book, he listed 17 different wasa'il, 17 different ways that you can do tabligh or da'wah, amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, to enjoin good and to forbid evil. You would naturally think that to speak, to talk, would be at number one, right? Because essentially, in order for you to inspire someone to accept the message of Islam or to learn more about the faith that you follow, you have to speak to them, you have to converse with them. But he lists that at number two. Number one, according to the Shaykh, is al-qudwatul hasana, to maintain an exemplary standard of character. And the example that he gave was that before the Prophet ﷺ stood up on the mount and invited the Quraysh to Islam and that which will save them. Before he invited them to accept Islam, and when he warned them about the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he had 40 years among them. 40 years where those same individuals, irrespective of whether they believed in him or they denied his message, they testified to the fact that there was no one more honest, no one more truthful than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had 40 years of good character to exhibit, to show. So when we tell our children to do something, we tell them to recite the Quran, we encourage them to pray, but they don't see us praying, then we will be from among those about whom the Quran says, لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say that which you yourself don't do? Right? So we have to inspire. We're duty bound to be representatives of the Prophet ﷺ in the best possible way, so that they can be inspired by that excellence of the Prophet ﷺ's character. I think we're ready enough to begin. We have guests here, not only from Southampton, our students, we have guests, scholars who have travelled from up and down the country, Birmingham, Nottingham, and different places to be here today. And we're extremely honoured and deeply privileged to have them among us. And we hope that they can inspire us with their beautiful words of wisdom. We have our guests from my family members and my wife's family members. I can see all of them here from High Wycombe, from different places all over the UK who have attended, and I know that there will be a lot more for us to handle as soon as the event begins. So, Jazakallah for your attendance today. I accept it on your behalf, and please do. I don't regard this as Al-Hayat Center opening, and I don't want to speak about this center. What I want to encourage you is that when you go home, populate your masajid, irrespective of where you are. Huh? If your local masjid is elsewhere, no, I'm not encouraging you to come here. I'm saying populate your masajid. Ensure that your mosques are filled with the dhikr, with the remembrance and with the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the verse of the Quran that I mentioned before you in my khutbah, Allah Azza wa Jal states, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ, that take your adornment at every single masjid, at every single place of prayer. That means wear the best of your attire, wear the best of your clothes. And the sabab al-nuzul, the reason for the revelation of this ayah, Abdullah ibn Abbas, he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ informed them that in the days of Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, people would do tawaf, they would circumambulate the Kaaba in the state of nakedness. And Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to outlaw that, wanted to inform that when you come to the masjid and when you want to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ, then take your adornment, wear the best of your attire in order to do that. One of our scholars, I remember listening to many years ago, he was saying, the adornment he said the adornment of the masjid itself does not lie in its aesthetic appeal. So sometimes you think, that masjid is beautiful. You know why? It's got these comfortable carpets. But that masjid is beautiful. You know why? It's got a beautiful dome and tall minarets that we spent £500,000 on. Right? Or that masjid is beautiful because their wooded areas are clean. Or they've got these excellent facilities. I'm not knocking any of them. I'm saying that's great. SubhanAllah. Every masjid should have that. But the true beauty of a masjid never lies in its aesthetic appeal. The true zina of the masjid lays in Imam and its congregation. Your levels of God consciousness, your levels of taqwa, your ibadah, your worship that continues to reverberate in the walls of your masajid, that's ultimately what matters, and that's what we should be encouraged from here today. I'm not going to take up. I've taken up already. I can see some people smiling. I've taken up too much of your time. You can listen to me afterwards. Today is about our guests, inshallah ta'ala. I would like to invite Sheikh Nadi, who has travelled all the way from Birmingham to be here with us today, and he's travelled by train to get here, and he's going to stay with us for a while, and then he's going to travel back this evening. We're honoured and we're privileged to have him. Sheikh is originally from Egypt. He's an excellent reciter of the Quran, and it's imperative that whenever we start any gathering, aside from my little 2 pence that I gave to you, it should always be with the recitation of the Quran, with the recitation of the Book of Allah, so we can keep that fire of love in our hearts for the Quran forever burning. Jazakallah for your attendance today. I invite you to come up and inspire us with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. الحمد لله الذي وهب لي على الكبر إسماعيل وإسحاق إن ربي لسميع الدعاء. ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي وهب لي على الكبر إسماعيل وإسحاق. الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي وهب لي على الكبر إسماعيل وإسحاق ربي لسميع الدعاء إن ربي لسميع الدعاء إن ربي لسميع الدعاء إن ربي لسميع الدعاء إن ربي لسميع الدعاء رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا وتقبل دعائي ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب ولا تحسبن الله غافلا عما يعمل الظالمون إنما يؤخرهم ليوم تشخص فيه الأبصار إنما يؤخرهم ليوم تشخص فيه الأبصار مهطعين مقنعي رؤوسهم لا يرتد إليهم طرفهم وأفئدتهم هواء مهطعين مقنعي رؤوسهم لا يرتد إليهم طرفهم وأفئدتهم هوى وأنذر الناس يوم يأتيهم العذاب فيقول الذين ظلموا ربنا أخرنا إلى أجل قريب فيقول الذين ظلموا ربنا أخرنا إلى أجل قريب إلى أجل قريب نجب دعوتك ونتبع الرسل نجب دعوتك ونتبع الرسل أولم تكونوا أقسمتم من قبل ما لكم من زوال وسكنتم في مساكن الذين ظلموا أنفسهم وتبين لكم وتبين لكم كيف فعلنا بهم وضربنا لكم وتبين لكم كيف فعلنا بهم وتبين لكم كيف فعلنا بهم وضربنا لكم الأمثال وقد مكروا مكرا وعند الله مكرهم وإن كان مكرهم لتزول منه الجبال فلا تحسبن الله مخلف وعده رسله فلا تحسبن الله مخلف وعده رسله إن الله عزيز ذو انتقام إن الله عزيز ذو انتقام يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات وبرزوا لله الواحد القهار وبرزوا لله الواحد القهار وترى المجرمين يومئذ مقرنين في الأصفاد سرابيلهم من قطران وتغشي وجوههم النار ليجزي الله كل نفس ما كسبت ليجزي الله كل نفس ما كسبت إن الله سريع الحساب هذا بيان ولينذروا به هذا بلاغ للناس ولينذروا به وليعلموا أنما هو إله واحد وليذكر أولو الألباب والشمس وضحيها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بنيها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سويها ونفس وما سويها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها قد أفلح من زكيها وقد خاب من دسيها صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah. That's why we attend gatherings such as these, to allow ourselves, to open ourselves up to being inspired by the beautiful melodious verses of the words of Allah, the words of our Rabb, talking to us, speaking to us, and hopefully inspiring us to bring about change in our lives. Jazakallah for that beautiful rendition. May Allah accept it from you, may Allah accept this journey for you here today, and may Allah accept this noble contribution from you, inshaAllah ta'ala. Meanwhile, we've had some more of our guests who have arrived. I can see some of the brothers there, led by Sidi Suhail Ahmed Qadi Sahab, Jazakallah for attending. We have Sudi Vinay Sahab, who's come from Birmingham, Jazakallah for attending today. Ustad Hafiz School Sahab, we've already introduced them. I don't want to take up any more of your time than I've already taken up at the beginning. Inshallah, we are going to have food served at the end, so I don't want to keep you waiting for too long, especially with the talent, the array of talent that you have here in front of you today, to be inspired by. You don't need to listen to me, inshallah. I'd like to invite Sayyid Suhail Qadi Sahib, who's come all the way from, I would say all the way, but it's not too far, walking, which to me is just down the road. From others, it may seem a little bit further away, but he's an individual who has supported our cause here in Southampton, especially with this centre, and he's an individual who I have a lot of love and respect for. He's someone who is serving the Muslim community within his local community in Woking and also in Feltham as well in London. May Allah accept his contributions and his services to the religion. I'm not going to give him a time, I'm not going to give him a topic, I'm not going to tell him what to do. So he's going to go up there, he'll recite some, and we after the verses of the Quran, we always have some praises of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we'll leave it to you to do whatever you want to do today, inshallah. Jazakallah for attending and being here, being part of this gathering and giving us your time, inshallah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, today finally the day has arrived. We're all here at the opening of Al-Hayat Centre here in Southampton. A lot of dedication, hard work has gone on behind the scenes for many months. And Alhamdulillah, great big congratulations to the community of Southampton. Firstly, a huge congratulations to Sheikh Ridwan Hussain Al-Azhari and his team who have worked tirelessly throughout the months to bring this to fruition. And we see the finished centre today, mashallah, it's beautiful. And Alhamdulillah, it's a place where the work of the deen will take place for many decades, centuries, inshallah. And there's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that house of Allah, where the work of the deen will continue, the masajid of the world are the only places when Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be transferred from the world to Jannah. Everything else, everything will annihilate. Only the places of worship will remain. So alhamdulillah, we are standing in a place where Allah's dhikr will continue, not only in this world, but inshallah in the hereafter. So a great big congratulations to the team and the future generations. उर्दू में कहा करते हैं कि ये बच्चे यही चिराग जलेंगे और रोशनी होगी. तो ये जो बच्चे हैं, नौजवान नस्ल है, इनकी परवरिश के लिए, इनकी तरबियत के लिए यहाँ पर नशिस्तें की जाएंगी और इंशाअल्लाह ताला आने वाली नस्लें जो हैं वो पले बढ़ेंगी यहाँ पर दीन के साथ, अकीदे के साथ, और इस्लाम ही हमारी पहचान है. और दियाए गैर में इस्लाम की पहचान होना आप खुद सब रात समझते हैं कि कितना ज़रूरी है कि नौजवान नस्ल बेरारबी की शिकार है. लेकिन ऐसे मराकज़ जब कायम किए जाएंगे तो इंशाअल्लाह ताला हमारी नस्लें बच सकती हैं और बचेंगी इंशाअल्लाह ताला. इस अकीदे और यकीन और ईमान के साथ ये शेख साहब काम कर रहे हैं और अल्लाह रब्बुल जलाल इनको मज़ीद इस्तिक़ामत अता फरमाए. आज बड़ी खुशी हुई है मुझे देखकर कि साहबजादा सूफी जुनैद साहब तशरीफ़ लाए हैं और जनाब हाफिज़ गुल साहब जिनको मैंने बड़े अरसे के बाद तकरीबन 12-13 साल के बाद ज़ियारत हो रही है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, seen him after many years. And Qari Sahib, what a beautiful recitation and what a great start to a beautiful centre with the recitation of the Quran. And it is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, wherever the Quran is recited, that place to the malaika, to the angels, looks like when we see the shining stars at night, this place, wherever the Quran is recited, it shines to the malaika like the stars shine for us in the middle of the night. So alhamdulillah, it was a great start, and mashallah, it's something that everybody here enjoyed, definitely. It's a great source of barakah. Regarding Mawlid, inshallah, 10-12 days away, inshallah, the month of Rabiul Awwal. So, Sheikh Sahib, I'm not going to take too long, but I want to recite one kalam. 2, 3, one inshallah. And then we will, so inshallah, if everybody can recite through their part. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah wa sallam alayka ya tere टुकड़ा पे पले गैर की ठोकर पे न डाल झिड़कियां खाए कहाँ छोड़ के सदका तेरा सल्लल्लाहु अलैका या रसूलल्लाह वसल्लम अलैका तेरी लाता है काश भी जो मेरा गौस है वो लाडला बेटा तेरा सल्लल्लाहु अलैका या रसूलल्लाह वसल्लम अलैका या मीराज शरीफ आ रहा है, मैं जब उसी की निस्बत से इत्तला पेश करता हूँ। फलक के नज़ारों ज़मीं की बहारों सभी दे मनाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं। फलक के नज़ारों ज़मीं की बहारों सभी दे मनाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं। उठो गम के मारो चलो बेसहारो खबर ये सुनाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं। लिखे हुजूर आ गए हैं हुजूर आ गए हैं हुजूर आ गए हैं। We also believe the Prophet to be Noor, so we say वो नूर आ गए हैं वो नूर आ गए हैं वो नूर आ गए हैं। अनोखा निराला वो ज़ीशान आया वो सारे रसूलों का सुल्तान आया। अनोखा निराला वो ज़ीशान आया वो सारे रसूलों का सुल्तान आया। अरे कज कुला अरे बादशाह निगाहें झुकाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं हुजूर आ गए हैं हुजूर आ गए हैं हुजूर حضور آ گئے ہیں، حضور آ گئے، ہوا چار سور ہے متوں کا بسیرا، اجالا اجالا سویرا سویرا، ہوا چار سور ہے متوں کا بسیرا، ہوا چار سور ہے متوں کا بسیرا، اجالا اجالا سویرا سویرا، حلیمہ کو پہنچی خبر آمنہ کی، میرے گھر میں آؤ حضور آ گئے ہیں، 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 کہاں میں ظہوری، کہاں ان کی باتیں، کرم ہی کرم ہے یہ دن اور راتیں، جہاں پہ بھی جاؤ دلوں کو جگاؤ، یہی کہتے جاؤ حضور آ گئے ہیں، فلک کے نظاروں زمین کی بہاروں سبھی پہ مناؤ حضور آ گئے ہیں۔ I've been asked to recite one Arabic. The ulama, senior ulama are present. The ulama have written whenever Qasida Burda is recited, it's a source of blessings, great blessings. Imam Shaykhuddin Busiri, alayhi rahmah, from where Qari Sahib is from, in Egypt, Alexandria, and Sheikh will vouch for this, that it's a great source of blessings, inshallah, alhamdulillah. So, Imam Shaykhuddin Busiri has written this, and we're going to recite together this. Everybody knows it, Mawla Yassali wa sallim. And I think it's befitting, and I've been asked to recite Arabic, so inshallah. مولاي صل وسلم دائما ابدا على حبيبك خلق كلهم، مولاي صل وسلم ابدا على حبيبك خير الخلق محمد سيد القومين والثقلين، محمد سيد القومين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن آجام، مولاي صل وسلم أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم، مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر، ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم. The next verse, it is said, if you raise your hands and whatever you ask for, if it is jais in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you. Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa balligh maqasidana. Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa balligh maqasidana. واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما ابدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. Alhamdulillah, we're all here gathered today, and it is a blessed occasion. And I will go as far as saying it's an occasion, it's history in the making, because today we're all gathered, and some of us in the next 10 years, some of us in the next 20, 30 years will pass on into the next life, but this center, inshallah ta'ala, will remain. And it's a great source of sadaqah jariyah. Whoever has contributed towards this in whatever way, shape or form, it is a great source of sadaqah jariyah for all of us, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah make it a source of sadaqah jariyah for us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala illuminate the graves of those people in whose names you have donated towards this center, and you continue to. And it is a great source of barakah and blessings for those people who are resting in their graves. If you've donated in their name as sadaqah jariyah, or continue to do so, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and reward your loved ones and your dear ones who may have departed from this world. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Thank you very much for that beautiful this imperative. When we the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our scholars would say that al-madhu wasilatun ila al-mahabbati wa ta'zim, that praising is a means of veneration and getting closer. Ta'zim, honor and respect. So when we praise the Prophet ﷺ with our tongues, in our hearts, in essence, what we're doing is we're allowing our hearts to be open to the remembrance of the Prophet ﷺ, the love of the Prophet ﷺ, and that love is followed with application, right? Acting upon the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. I was talking. He mentioned a few couplets. He spoke about a few couplets of the Burda. The official title of the Burda is Al-Kawakib al-Durriya fi Madhi Khair al-Bariyya. It's 10 chapters, 110 verses. And in the first chapter, I've written a commentary of the first chapter. In the first chapter, Imam Busiri, whose real name is Muhammad, he's talking about his hal, his own state, now that he's fallen in love with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he's talking about things that are associated and affiliated with the Prophet alaihi wasallam And because of that affiliation have become beloved to him also. So he talks about, is it because of the neighbors of Dhu Salam that tears mixed with blood are flowing from your eyes? You know, Dhu Salam is a place between Mecca and Medina that the Prophet ﷺ used to travel. And when he would travel between Mecca and Medina, he would rest at this place called Dhu Salam. And Busiri is remembering the neighbors of Dhu Salam, the people who live in that area. And he's saying, they are beloved to me. I've never been there myself, but they're beloved to me because the Prophet ﷺ had a connection and an association with them. So anything that is associated and connected with the Prophet ﷺ automatically, but it becomes beloved to us also. And this is how the Sahaba, they lived their lives. This is not something new. The Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, anything that was beloved to the Prophet ﷺ became beloved to them. You know, we look at the likes of Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Bilal, the mu'adhin of the Prophet ﷺ, the honor, the man who had the honor of being the first among the callers to prayer. Right? This individual who throughout his life he was ridiculed. Throughout his life, he was belittled. But when he accepted the religion of Islam, the honor that it granted him gave him that kind of a status that he is among the only individuals to not only to be given the honor of reciting the adhan, but being among the only to have done so by standing on top of the Kaaba. This is Bilal. This is that Bilal about whom the Prophet ﷺ said, Bilal, I hear your footsteps in Jannah. This is that Bilal. And Bilal, when the Prophet ﷺ, you know, when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, it was a day it was one of those days that the ulama mentioned of history that there was never a day like it, because the companions were naturally shell-shocked. You know, when we have a family member passing away, what is our hal? You know, a parent passes away, a brother or sister or a child passes away, we're absolutely grief-stricken and heartbroken. Imagine for those companions for whom the Prophet ﷺ meant more than anybody ever possibly could. And the Prophet ﷺ passes away. And these companions, some of them were unable to bear that loss and that separation from the Prophet ﷺ. And Bilal was one of them. Because, you know, Bilal couldn't bear to stay in Medina. You know, we desire. Is there anybody here who does not desire to live in the city of the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, or desire to visit the city of the Prophet ﷺ? We all do. Bilal lived in the city of the Prophet. He had a place in the city of the Prophet. He was the muazzin of the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. And yet, Bilal can no longer stay there. Because wherever he looks now, he's reminded of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? When he walks into the masjid, and whenever he looks and he gives the adhan, he's reminded that I'm in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, and he can't bear that grief, and he leaves. You know, some of the ulama mentioned, among them, Qadi Iyad in Kitab al-Shifa, he says that, had Bilal stayed in Medina, he would have died from grief. He would have died from grief. He would have passed away from grief. So he leaves and he goes to Syria. He settles there. And, you know, many, a time later, it's not mentioned how long, the Prophet ﷺ appears in Bilal's dream. He said, Ya Bilal, ma hadha al-jafa? Ama an lakum an tazurana? What is this foolishness, O Bilal? Don't you harbor the desire to come and visit us? And immediately Bilal wakes up and he makes the intention to go back to Medina to visit the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. And when he arrives in Medina, the companions say that we have never known a day more full of joy, right? Than when Bilal returned to Medina after the first arrival of the Prophet ﷺ. When Bilal comes, you know, people come out of their homes and say, Bilal is here, Bilal is back. And they all come out. This same companion who was belittled, look at the honor that Islam gave him now. That he had the honor of being that companion for whom everybody came out of their homes for. Bilal is back. And grabbing onto his coattails, you had the likes of Hassan and Hussein. Said, oh, our uncle Bilal. honor us one more time and recite the adhan for us so we can remember the days of our grandfather. Everybody requests him, and eventually he agrees to give the adhan. And when he stands up and he says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, the companions report, Dajjat al-Madina. It's like Medina shook when he said that. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Everybody comes out of their homes. The men, the women come out of their homes. Huh? And they say, Abu Ida Rasulullah, has the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam returned? This was the aqidah of the companions of the Prophet. Has the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam come back? Abu Ida Rasulullah. Because it was their belief that when Bilal gives adhan, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam led the prayer. And when he finally arrived, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the words were stuck in his throat, and he was unable to continue. There were various narrations that it's reported that he fainted, he fell down, and he went into unconsciousness. He couldn't complete that sentence, because when he would say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, that's when the Prophet ﷺ used to come out of his hujrah, and he would make his way to the musalla, to the place of prayer. And he would be looking directly at the Prophet ﷺ when he would be saying, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And today he looked, and the Prophet ﷺ wasn't there. His heart was unable to bear that. These, this is a companion. Everything that was associated with the Prophet became beloved, merely because of association became beloved to them. I'll leave this. There's some young people here. You had in school you studied the story of Romeo and Juliet. In school you study that story, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. You've got, in Urdu you have Hir Adnan. You've got in Arabic you've got the Layla and Majnun, right? There are various reports with regards to the story of Layla and Majnun. Majnun was actually short for Majnun, which means madman, insane. And his name, as reported by many Mu'arrikheen, his name was Qais, and he was among the Tabi'een. And this individual Qais, he was in love with this woman, infatuated with this woman who he hadn't even seen, he didn't even know, he just knew of her name, Layla. And everything that was beloved to Layla became beloved in association to Layla, became beloved to him. The Busiri, there's over 100 commentaries written of the Buddha, and in each and every commentary that I've read, and I've only read about 6 of them, it's the story of Layla and Majnun is mentioned just to show that this is just normal human love emotion. And imagine the love that we should have for the Prophet ﷺ, which is far greater than any love for any normal human being we should have. And there was once one of the commentators, I can't remember which one it was. He mentions that Majnun Qais was once looking at the moon, and he couldn't turn his face away from it. Like his gaze was transfixed at the moon, and it was like he wasn't even blinking. He was just staring at the moon. And someone asked him, "What's his gaze? What are you doing? What's there? Why are you looking at the moon?" And he says, I'm looking at the moon because it's a full moon night, and I know that at least once tonight, Layla will also look at the moon, and our sight will meet. We'll both be staring at the same thing at the same time, right? And that association became beloved to him because it was connected to Layla. Once he's walking through the streets of the city, and he arrives at a place. We have Imam Sahib arrived as well. He arrives at a place and it's close to the vicinity of Layla, and he sees a street dog, and he starts to hug and clean and kiss the street dog. And people say, "What's wrong with you? This is a street dog. Why are you cleaning this? Why are you hugging this dog for? Why are you kissing this dog for? You're going to get some disease from this dog." And he said, "No, this is not a normal dog. This is a dog that walks in the streets of Layla." That dog became beloved to him because it walked in the streets of Layla. So the reasons why you mention, the ulama have mentioned these kinds of examples is not to inspire love in your heart for anybody, is to show you that this is what we term as love for each other, normal human emotion, and the love that we have for the Prophet ﷺ, which is far greater any type of love that we can have for any human being. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Imam Sahib. Okay. Imam Sahib. MashaAllah, I'm not going to talk now. We have scholars here. MashaAllah, Imam Sahib. This man is a huge. You know, we talk about the inspirations of why, how this place came to be. It's important to talk about, for me to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for how I came to be at this place, in this city. Had it not been for my honorable father, our teachers, our honorable Imam, this man is an Imam, is an Imam, was an Imam in the High Wycombe Masjid for 32 years. 32 years. I'm 33 years old. I look a lot older, I know. Right? I'm 33 years old. And subhanAllah, Imam Sahib was the Imam there for that long. And during that time, you can imagine the amount of people that he would have had the honor and the privilege to inspire, to change their lives. And there's not an Imam that I've met like him, I can honestly say that. His demeanor, his character, his akhlaq. Al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. The scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. وَأَنَّ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ لَمْ يُورِثُوا دِينَارًا وَلَا دِرْهَمًا إِنَّمَا وَرَثُوا الْعِلْمَ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the prophets, they don't leave behind any inheritance. They don't leave behind a dirham or a dinar in inheritance. They only leave behind ilm. فَمَنْ أَخَذَهَا أَخَذَ بِهَدٍ وَافِرٍ. And whoever grasps onto it, then he's held onto a fair portion. These individuals are our connection with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His waratha, his inheritors. And who inherits from you? Your children inherit from you. Not your neighbors, not your loved ones, not your friends, your children, those who have a direct link to you. And the Prophet ﷺ said, my inheritance is knowledge, and those who inherit from me will be my ulama and my scholars, the scholars of this religion. And we're grateful to have among us today, Allama Badruddin Aini, in his Umdat al-Qari, which is his commentary of Sahih al-Bukhari, he mentions that this hadith is inspired by the words of Allah. ثُمَّ أَوْرَثْنَا الْكِتَابَ الَّذِي نَصْطَفَيْنَا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. Then we have given in inheritance this book to those individuals, نَصْطَفَيْنَا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا, that we have elected, we have chosen مِنْ عِبَادِنَا, from ourselves. So these individuals are not only the ulama of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his inheritors and his heirs, but they're also chosen directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire change within our hearts. And I'm eternally grateful that they are here with us today. Imam Sahib, and I have to apologize. A short while ago, Imam Sahib had the honor of opening up the center in High Wycombe, and he is leading that charge. His children are leading that charge. And Al-Baqir Center in High Wycombe, which is a source of knowledge and excellence, no doubt. And I remember Imam Sahib calling me on the day, and as I was here, we were in Southampton running around, and I was running around like a maniac trying to get things. And unfortunately, I was unable to attend. But yet, Imam Sahib just returned to the UK, I think yesterday, on Friday. And with an invitation that came through his son, not directly to him, which I apologize for unreservedly. He's here with us today, and he's going to inspire you, no doubt. And you will. This is the reason why you're here. You're not here to. Nobody's here to say, "Oh, mashallah." Of course, we're going to say this is a beautiful building, or we like this about it. That's fine. But you're not here to tell me, "Oh, you've done a fantastic job." Nor do I want that from you. I want people who attend today to benefit, because that's essentially the what we aim from these masajid and these centers of learning, to provide, to facilitate knowledge and education and inspiration for our community, especially our young brothers and sisters. So we will have Imam Sahib also speaking to us. But before we do, we have someone who attended. You know how you send a message out, and someone says to you, and I was telling you this just now, and you say, oh yeah, come over, we've got an event in the masjid, and someone said, inshallah, I'll be there, and they live like 300 miles away, and inshallah, yeah, and you think to yourself, well, inshallah here means that they want to, but in all likelihood they won't come. So I received that kind of a message from him, I think a few days ago. Inshallah, I'll be there. And alhamdulillah, he turned up and came from Birmingham. Yes, I'm extremely grateful. He's an individual who we've had a lot of interaction with within the worship in Birmingham, and someone who I want to congratulate on graduation also. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable you to go from strength to strength. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire you, continue to inspire you to follow in the footsteps of your father and your grandfather. And Jazakallah for attending this. Please do come up and express your thoughts to us, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم. I would just like to start off and say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and congratulations to you all, in particular to Sheikh Rizwan Sahib, his honorable father Al-Hayat Sabi Hussain Sahib, and Saqib Khan, and the whole entire team under this center, and in particular congratulations to you as well as the public. The reason why I say congratulations to you as well is because in the ayah that I just recited, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? And no doubt you have been bestowed with another favor upon us, where you've got the likes of Sheikh Rizwan Sahib and a center for us to all take knowledge from, for us all to benefit from. There's no excuses, there's no reasons why you should miss out, and for your children to benefit from. This is the first time that I've come to Southampton, and alhamdulillah, it's an honor for me that my first time coming to Southampton is for attending a place which inshallah will become a center of light, a center of knowledge for the entire community. And I'd like to congratulate everyone, in particular Sheikh Rizwan Sahib and the entire family, on their efforts. But now, the real work starts now. The real work starts now. Susan always would say to us, making a place, building a place, doing the renovation work, all that, yes, it's important and it's difficult, but running it is very difficult. And this is the way Sheikh Sahib requires support of yourselves, not just financially, but as you as individuals coming with your family and supporting him by attending the events, by sending your children to the madrasa. Sheikh Sahib has spent, like you mentioned, 33 years of his age. He's 33 years old, however, he spent a lot of his time studying and then teaching in Southampton and in High Wycombe, and going up and down the country, Birmingham, Manchester, wherever it may be, to serve Allah's creation and to serve the Deen. And we ourselves inquired Sheikh Sahib to come and join us in Manchester, but Sheikh Sahib said, I'm not going to leave the people of Southampton. So, for you, brothers and sisters, you've got a great opportunity, and do take benefit from him and support him. How? By helping yourselves. Reminded of a hadith sharif where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that each guardian will be accountable for his dependent, for people that depend on him. So fathers for their households, for women for their husbands' households and their children. So by you supporting him, you're also fulfilling an obligation upon yourself, whereby you're beginning tarbiyah to your children by supporting them at home, but also by sending them here for seeking knowledge, the follow aim, and as you as parents to come here and take benefit from the events. So I strongly encourage you all that you've got a great person here, and do take benefit from him, and do come. And just a small message that I'll leave you with in English, before I say a few words in our mother tongue, that Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh asked Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, how have you attained this high rank? How have you attained this high rank? And from the number of things that Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh mentioned, one of them was that I saw two types of people living. So one was people who would work and love for the world worldly matters, they love that. However, the second type of person I would see was one who would work for the afterlife. So this is just a reminder for us that where are we going? Where are we heading towards? What is it that we want to achieve in life? Ultimately, I'm sure we all want a good life in the afterlife, but we need to prepare now for it. And the way of that is by learning ourselves and also giving tarbiyah to your children and making sure that they're in a circle. Suhbah is very important, especially in this day and age. I don't need to go into detail, but we see in the news what children are being taught in schools, in society, peer pressure, the pressure that has on students. What is that we're doing? And alhamdulillah, it's great to see that it's such a diverse community here. And I'm sure that we can all learn off each other and by supporting the center, be able to help ourselves by fulfilling the obligations upon us. So, inshallah, that's just my message for you all, that do support Sheikh Sahab and by helping yourselves as well at the same time, by coming yourself and sending your children to take benefit and to so that they can continue on spreading the deen, inshallah. So, and now I'll say a few words in my Wellington. आप सबको उसके लिए सारे हज़रात आए हैं, सारे बहुत मुबारक, खासकर शेख साहब वालिद साहब इस जगह पर खुदा इस जगह में तरक्की अता फरमाए, कामयाबी अता फरमाए, सारी दुआ और साथ वक्त शेख साहब ने नादन बनाने का लेना बहुत खुशी हुई है। शेख साहब ने माशाल्लाह बहुत मेहनत करके जगह में तैयार किया, लेकिन उन सारे ने कोशिश होनी चाहिए कि शेख साहब ना साथ छोड़ देना। काफ़ी थे बंदे आए कि जो दूसरे खाली पाकिस्तान तो नहीं हैं, दूसरे मुल्क हैं, तो उन्होंने वालिदैन आए हैं। सारा काम है सारे ਨੂੰ वेलकम करना, सारे ਨੂੰ वेलकम करना, सारे ਨਾਲ प्यार मोहब्बत ਨਾਲ मिलना। तो अगे इंशाल्लाह इस तरह की जगह आबाद हो सी, कामयाब हो सी इंशाल्लाह। तो सारे ਨੂੰ रिक्वेस्ट है कि शेख साहब और फैमिली ਨਾਲ साथ दियो, सारे बच्चों ਨੂੰ औलादां ਨੂੰ, जिन्होंने बुजुर्ग हैं, जिन्होंने पोते पोतियां हैं, तो लाजमी उन्हें भेजो, दीन हासिल करन, सीखन, हासिल कर अमल करन। तो स्वाड़ा काम है साथ देना, तो उन्हें इंकरेजमेंट देना। शेख साहब ने नाल सारे नाल अल्लाह से सारे ਨੂੰ उसके दीन के रास्ते में चलने की तौफीक अता फरमाए, खिदमत करने की तौफीक अता फरमाए। वा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
Allah bless you for your kind message and beautiful words. Here you just mentioned, a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi." That each and every one of you is a shepherd and you're all responsible for your flock. So a man is a shepherd; he's responsible for his flock. Those individuals who are under his care, his protection. It's our job protect yourselves and your family members from the fire. That's essentially what this hadith is inspired from. We're duty bound to continue to strive for excellence and provide that for, first and foremost, to those that we're responsible for, our family members, because those are the individuals that we're going to be questioned about on Yom Qiyamah, what we did for them. As opposed to those who did, to the things that we didn't have any control over. We have, my honourable uncle, is here behind me, and he's son of my brother-in-law. He passed away recently, and my sister couldn't be here. She's in the waiting period, and she would have loved to have her baby. And most importantly, he would have loved to know he was an individual who, and the reason why I mentioned him, especially to people who don't know him, is because he was a man of inspiration. He was an individual who, right until the very end, despite suffering from a debilitating disease, he never missed his salah. He was what would then become his deathbed, in his final moments, unable to move an inch, and yet he never missed his prayer. So praying. And if it was up to him, by Allah, he would spend the entirety of his days in the masjid, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I want to today especially make du'as and request our Shaykh that when they do make dua, that they make dua for him, that Allah grant him the highest of stations in Jannah. May Allah grant his family members the best of sabr, and they did have it. SubhanAllah, I've not seen many who had that kind of sabr, because when a person passes away in that state, and you see their qabuliyah on this earth, that's a source of sabr for you, that Allah grants you sabr by knowing that these individuals are among min Ahl Jannah, the people of Jannah. And we pray, most importantly, for his children, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep them steadfast upon the religion and the way of their honorable, their noble father, inshallah ta'ala. I can see them here today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ennoble them and protect them always. So inshallah we will request from our Shaykh. Without further ado, I want to invite our honorable Ustad Hafiz bin Sahib, who's travelled all the way from Mecca to be here today. Sheikh Kareem, how are you? For those of you who have heard him already before in Southampton, you know who he is. For those of you who haven't, you know, you're in for a treat. You know, mashallah, he's an outstanding scholar. And I'm eternally grateful whenever I pick up the phone now for him and I say, please do come. He's the first to always respond. Please do pay attention and do sit down, listen to the talk, and pay attention. So.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. صدق الله العليم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. Most honorable, noble Imams, our honorable guest, Sabzada Allama Ghulam Jilani Sahib, Hafidahullah, may Allah Ta'ala protect and preserve him. Our honorable guest, Sidi Suhail Qadri, may Allah Ta'ala protect and preserve him. Our honorable guest, Sufi Akhtar Sahib. My brothers and sisters, my Bazur, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, on behalf of the Shaykh Qibla Muhammad Imdad Hussain Pirzada Sahib, on behalf of the Vice Principal of Jamia Al-Karam, Maulana Bakhtiyar Pirzada Sahib, on behalf of all of the teachers and staff at Jamia Al-Karam, we want to wish huge congratulations to Imam Rizwan Sahib, to Ustada Sidra, to Ustada Afifa, to Haji Sabir Sahib, to Hafiz Muhammad Ahmed Sahib, to the community of Southampton on establishing this beautiful center and education of learning. May Allah Ta'ala make this a center from which the ulum, just as Sidi Suhail said before me, that the ulum and the nur hopefully will emanate. And this will be a center from which people will gain so much. And may Allah Ta'ala grant it continued success and prosperity. May Allah Ta'ala make this. And for all of you that have been involved, for those whose names we take, those whose names we don't, for every tile that was placed, for every roll of the brush that helped beautify these white walls, for every brick that has been laid, for every window that has been put in. These people, you can't actually see this in this dunya, right? You can't know that they're actually, what they're doing is building for themselves a place in paradise. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a masjid in this world, builds for himself a house in Jannah. And so it's a world that you can't see and understand, but actually that's what you've been part of. May Allah Ta'ala grant you all success and barakah within your lives and within your livelihoods. Today I had a talk actually that when I look over it, it became overly academic. So, I thought to myself, there's something that I want you to tell Sheikh Rizwan, I want you to tell the teachers that I'm going to be teaching here. There's something that I want you to tell the parents whose children are going to study here, or whose children study at whatever masajid they're studying at. I want to bring a ground reality to you that we all need to contend with. But if I went into it in the academic way that I looked at it, I probably will put you all to sleep. It's a long day. You've been sat here for a while, you probably will end up asleep. So I want to approach it slightly differently. And I want to tell you about the challenges you face and say that you can almost summarize your challenges in educating children in your masajid or educating your children here in Al-Hayat Center. You can summarize that in the challenge of your mixed doner kebab with all the salads and with all the mayonnaise and with all the sauces that you have on top of it, number one. Number two, people queuing up at petrol stations, we just mentioned, the panic buying of petrol. You could almost summarize, your problems within all of this. The thing is that when you look at the human body is made up of three parts. It's made up of the body, the physical body, it's made up of the mind, which some people will refer to as the intellect, and it is made up of the ruh, the soul. Here they say it's your psychological state. Even non-Muslims acknowledge that there is a third part. It's your psychological condition or your psychological state. The problem is that when we sit here, our challenge, my challenge and your challenge is, when we sit here and listen to the recitation of the Quran, we're moved, but why is it that we're not totally moved? Why is it that we don't experience what we should be experiencing? And if we're not experiencing it, here's the challenge. If I'm not experiencing movement in my heart, how will my children be experiencing movement in their heart when they come to take Allah Ta'ala's name and they come to lesson? When they come here and we teach them Allah Ta'ala's name, how are they ever going to experience something that I myself couldn't experience? And really, that's a huge problem for us. Because that's the state of the believer, isn't it? إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. The believers are only those who, when the name of Allah Almighty is mentioned, their hearts actually shake in fear. وَإِذَا طُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And when the ayat of the Quran, when his verses are recited to them, it increases them in terms of iman. So why is it that they're not experiencing quite that? And then we need to come to terms with that, and our children are going to have to come to terms with that. A lot of it is to do with the environment in which you live. You have to acknowledge the environment you live. You could live in this country and say it doesn't affect me. It would be a flawed argument. Everything is affecting you. The air that you breathe is affecting you. Your schooling is affecting you. What you see on television is affecting you. What you experience on social media is affecting you. It is shaping your mindset. So that the schooling that you have here is not such a bad thing. The schooling here, it gets toned down a lot as being secular knowledge. It's not all bad. I mean, it has its limitations. And the limitations of this of secular knowledge really is that you can only go as far as the physical will allow you to go. You can never get to the metaphysical. It just will not take you there. Through empirical data, you can never conclude the oneness of Allah Almighty. You can't study science. And science isn't going to prove to you that Allah Ta'ala exists. You can't study maths, and maths isn't going to prove to you that Allah Ta'ala exists. You can't study medicine, and medicine isn't going to prove to you that Allah Ta'ala exists. And the principal problem in this country has become that all of these things, you've got the Hubble, the telescope, the Hubble telescope, looking out across the cosmos, looking out millions of miles, looking out through the millions of miles of galaxy. This is perhaps something we should have been doing actually. This should have been our job as Muslims. We should have been the Hubble telescope developers who actually look out into the cosmos. We really should have done that. But the difference between their approach and our approach is that all of these things Allah Ta'ala told us is the actual. These things are the signs. Look at the signs, let the signs take you further. And the problem is, with knowledge that you experience in this country, is that instead of allowing the sign to take you further, instead of looking at the sign and saying, well, it's pointing this way, I should go this way, we've become so infatuated with the sign itself that we've actually forgot that we were looking for something else. We stopped asking the right questions. So, it's like being on a road, it's like being on a journey when it tells you Southampton, is here to the right, 30 miles. Instead of following the actual sign, we've become infatuated with the sign itself. It's made up of metal, right? I can tell you, it's made of metal. It's two pipes which are probably got a concrete base, and that's what's going to keep it stable. And then, the pipes go up, and then it's covered by a metal sheeting, and that's been painted. And I should examine what sort of paint they've got, because it's now become weatherproof. And over that they've put stickers, and this is what science is doing. Science is looking at the human anatomy. It really is. It's looking at the human anatomy better than we ever will. But it's not asking. It's really just becoming fascinated with the human body itself, and not asking the next question. And this is what science will never do for you. Science will never ask you why. It's constantly asking you how. The science here in this country has told us that in order for the world to have existed, everything starts with a Big Bang. But that Big Bang had to have a perfect amount of power within it, a perfect amount. Because if the power in that Big Bang was far too great, then it would have spread the galaxy so far out, that there was no probability of a universe existing. And therefore there would have been no galaxies, therefore there would have been no Earth. And if the power of the explosion was too light and not enough, then you simply could not have had the creation of planets. And you would not have had the creation of galaxies. You simply couldn't have had this. Now, in order for that to be absolutely perfect, they say there is a 1 in a 50 to the power of 10 chance of that having happened by chance. There is a 1 in a 50 to the power of 10, so that's 50 times 50 times 50 times 50, 10 times over. Millions, it's 1 in a million, not million, millions chance that explosion could have happened purely by chance, and that there wasn't a superior creator over this. And yet, they don't conclude that actually perhaps there was a superior being. Perhaps science will never bring you to, perhaps there is a superior creator, the absolute, who actually knows the exact power required in order for the world to exist. And this is actually really problematic. And scientists in the past have actually did come to terms with this. This is why you've got the Pascal's wager. Have you ever heard of the Pascal's wager? Pascal was an 18th century scholar. He was a scientist, but he wagered. He said that based on everything we know in science, you could be one of two people. You could either believe in a God and say that he does exist, or you could disbelieve in a God and say that He doesn't exist and things are just happening by chance. He would say that I would recommend that if a person is going to place a bet, he should wager belief in a God. Because relatively, the sacrifices you have to make in this world are far fewer in comparison to the punishments which are named for the next. So he says that perhaps, as a scientist, I'm not saying that somebody should be a believer, but if somebody is going to wager belief or non-belief, he should perhaps go towards belief. Now, actually, this science that exists all around you, you can't ignore it. You can't bring your children into the masjid and say that that's got nothing to do with us. This has got everything to do with you. What your children are receiving in schools has everything to do with you. You just have to change their approach on how they see it. This is your approach and the approach of your deen. Allah Almighty says in the verses of the Quran, "Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard." Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth. You should be studying the creation of the heavens and the earth. You will find a sign. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard. وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. The alternating of the night and the day. لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. There are signs. There are most definitely signs. That lam is there for ta'qeed, isn't it? It's there to confirm. There are definitely signs for ulul albab. Now there's the thing. Do you know what the word lub, ulul albab? We always translate this as intellectual. But do you know what the word lub means? The word lub means something which is deeply concealed within. Do you know what lub is? Lub is a seed. It's a seed which is embedded deeply within your heart. And it is there because the seedling wants to prosper. And the job of the Sufiya in our dunya, the job of our Sufiya has never been to tell us. They've never ever said to us that the dunya is something else and that your deen is something else. They've never said that to us. They said, you live in this dunya so you will learn to behave as a Muslim in this dunya. And you live with your deen so you will learn to live with the practicalities of your deen right here in this dunya. You can't, we've never lived, we have never, no Sufi has ever asked us in the past to leave everything and to live like monks. In fact, we've been forbidden from it. And I'll tell you, Sufis in the past have actually been saying this to you. In the Kalam of Sayyidina Sultan Babu, rahmatullahi ta'ala, do you know what he says? He says, Alif Allah, chambe di booty, murshid man mere vich lai. Alif Allah, the alif of the word Allah. My murshid, my teacher, my sheikh, he's gone and he's planted it right inside, deep inside my heart. And he's always saying, when I go to my sheikh and I say to him, Sheikh, tell me about Allah Almighty, my sheikh says, go and look at the sunset. So I go and look at the sunset. I come back and I say, oh Sheikh, tell me about Allah Almighty. And he says, go and have a look at the plants outside, the greenery and the plants. And then I say, oh Sheikh, come and tell me about Allah Almighty. And he says, go and have a look at the beauties Allah has created in the rivers and the seas and the mountains. So I want to know about Allah, and He keeps sending me out to all of these things. Alif Allah, He only gave me the alif. He didn't even introduce me to the word Allah. He only gave me the alif. He planted the alif from the word Allah inside my heart. And so when I keep coming back to my sheikh and saying, well, you keep sending me out. And I say to my sheikh, Sheikh, tell me about Allah Almighty. And he says, just sit there and breathe. That's it. I don't want you to do anything else. I'm not giving you a dhikr. I'm not giving you anything to do. Just sit there and breathe. That's all I want you to do. Nothing more than that. And so he says, I sit there and breathe. And I want to progress. And I want the hijab to be lifted. And you're telling me to sit here and breathe. And that's going to get me closer to Allah Almighty. So he sits there. And he's going through all of this practice. And then when he comes back to his shaykh and says, come on, tell me something more. He says, can you not see the balance in everything that you've been witnessing? Have you not seen the setting of the sun and how it rises again? Is there not somebody perfectly in control of that? And he said, yeah, I do acknowledge it. It's perfect. The way that it goes down and comes back up. So he says, if you find it to be perfect, say La ilaha illallah. Say there's none worthy of worship except Allah. He says, when you breathe, isn't there a perfect amount of oxygen in the air? When you look at the plants, isn't it that the plants need carbon dioxide, which you're breathing out, and they are giving out oxygen, which you're breathing in? Can you not see that He's created the perfect balance? Can you not see that you had to have a creator who created you perfect balance in the ozone? Can you not see that you had a creator who created you the perfect balance in the universe and the cosmos? Can you not see all of these things? If you did not have a creator, if there was not one supreme being that took you, that did all of that for you, then this world would be utter chaos. So say it, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And then when you come to worship, say La ilaha illallah and then say Allahu Akbar. Say it with your arms, say it with your body as you go into ruku. So, you know what he said? Alif Allah, Chambe di booty, this low tree, Murshid man mere vich laayi hu, Nafi isbaat da pani milya, har rage har jai ho. Nafi isbaat da pani milya. Nafi is actually negation. La ilaha. That's the bit. You know, he told me, start reading La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Nafi is La ilaha. Isbat is the positive bit that comes after it. Illallah. First say La ilaha, then say illallah. Say it and you'll feel something. And he said, there I came to the realization. Nafi isbat da pani milya, har rage har jai, andar booty mushk machai, jaan kulan pe aayi. You know, that this time when I read La ilaha illallah, I actually came to a realization. I actually came to something. Actually, He's right. Allah Ta'ala has been there all along. I'm the one who's in denial, but He's always been. He has always been there. I've always been connected to Him. And under booty mushk machai, you know, that plant that He had, the alif that He had planted in my soul now actually starts to blossom. And now I can't contain myself. Under booty mushk machai, John Pulante I enter into a state of absolute ecstasy. All I want to do is I want to spin and I want to tell you all La ilaha illallah. You can't see it, He's all around you. La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. This is Jeev Murshid Kamil Bahu Jis Ebuti La ilaha. You know, the long live that Kamil Murshid of mine who planted this into my heart. You know, the Sufis are the ones who don't take you out of this world, they actually situate you right in the middle of it and tell you what your responsibility is. The problem is that your schooling and the schooling that your children are receiving, it's actually disconnecting them from asking the right question. Everybody wants to know how. You know, how was this, what material was used in order to build the universe? What material was used to put up this post? What material was used to put up this signpost? They're not asking why. Why is it here? What is it doing for me? And if you just spent a moment, and we need to tell our children that actually science has a place within our masajid. You know, that science does have a place, and it's the science that takes you back to Allah Almighty. It's a real knowledge. We're not in denial of real knowledge. This is, and then you've got another problem in that in this country, at this moment in time, we can understand the effects that the mind and that the physical body can have on the psychology of a person. You know, we've acknowledged that in this country. You know, what they say in English, you are what you eat. You know, and what you're eating, it does impact you. And so I come to, our donors. So they've actually concluded that they're coming to the point of concluding that actually, what you eat doesn't just affect your mind, it also affects your soul, or they call your psychology. And the way that it affects it is that there are certain foods that cause certain chemicals or serotonins to be released within your brain that give you a real feel-good factor. Now there is the beginning of a debate that says that you find it harder to resist those foods because of the serotonin that's being generated. And that even if you're not greedy, you're going to eat more of it than you would. So there's a study here that says, if you had rice and you had boiled vegetables, right? I don't know what sabzi. Our children don't seem to like sabzi. Boiled vegetables on rice If you were eating boiled vegetables and rice, you'd find it much easier to control yourself and say, I think I've had enough. Why? Because that food doesn't generate the same serotonin in your brain. So when your body starts telling you, I'm full, then your brain starts telling your body, right, I think that's enough, we'll call it quits here. That'll be all we need today. So your body will be obedient to the mind. But when you're eating these foods, which are causing this serotonin to develop, what happens is that serotonin is giving you a feel-good factor. Because your ruh is after a wanting feel-good factor, your ruh overrules your mind and says, even when you're full, and you know what I mean, even when you can't eat anymore, and you know that you can't eat anymore, you'll still have one more slice of pizza. Right? Just the last one because it's there in the box. You'll have it anyway. Why? Honestly, this is true. That it's affecting your ruh. It really is affecting your ruh. You can't control yourself. And this is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to teach us about these things. He actually, there's a hadith that talk about controlling yourself. Sometimes just visually seeing a food gives you an effect and it impacts your ruh. Just visually. And the Prophet ﷺ in one hadith sharif said, take Allah Ta'ala's name, وَقُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ. Eat from that which is immediately in front of you. There's so much hikmah in this. The Prophet ﷺ said, eat from that which is immediately in front of you. Why? Because Arabs used to eat in a big dish, in a big tray. And so there'd be 6 of us sitting around a tray. Now the problem is, where I'm sat, there might just be rice, and the lamb has fallen to him, and the chicken has fallen to him, and it's all on their side. And now the problem is, I can't control myself. I'm going to reach over to where Imam Rizwan is sitting and take it from him. And now actually we're going to start affecting each other's psychology. I'm going to offend him. He's going to think, I was going to pick that up. I was going to pick that up, and he's taking it from in front of me. That's actually not his right. So the Prophet ﷺ on one side said, take something Allah Ta'ala wa kul mimma yali. Take the name of Allah Almighty and eat from that which is immediately in front of you. And then equally, the Prophet ﷺ instructed you, sat on the other side of the tray, that love for your brother what you love for yourself. You should all sit there and start noticing, right, that poor soul, he's only got rice in front of him. We're all eating, and he's looking at us, picking up the pieces of meat, and we're all eating. The Prophet ﷺ said, control your ruh. Control it. You control it and don't grab. You control it by sharing. There's a connection, and this is a very real connection. You can't be in denial of this. The Prophet ﷺ, I'll tell you how overwhelming foods can become. You have absolutely no control over your desires, none whatsoever, unless you control what you're eating and the amounts that you are eating. And isn't this why the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith sharif, Ya ma'shar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj, wa man lam yastati' fa'alayhi bis-sawm. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ بِجَاءٍ. It is, O kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam, O young people, whosoever from amongst you has the financial and physical capabilities to marry, then let him marry. And whosoever doesn't have that, then let him fast. It's actually connected to your food. Because the fasting becomes a shield for him. Because the foods you eat affect your hawa, your nafs, your desires. And you can't control your desires when you've got... And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said to us, if you ask me about how much you should eat, then here's my instruction. Eat only that much with which you can keep your back straight and you can sit up. That much food is enough for you. And then he said, if you really, really are going to eat, then keep 1/3 for food, 1/3 for water, and 1/3 for air. And not be like us where we've eaten so much, when we're going to all the food wants to come back out of it. We can't be like that. We need to change ourselves, and we need to change that in our children. Third thing is, look at human nature. Take away knowledge, take away self-control, and I'll tell you what happens. Insan is nothing more than an animal that will mimic anything that is going on around him. That's it. That's all we will ever do. We will mimic everything that is going on around us. And with this, I come to your panic buying petrol. Right? I say to you, perhaps somebody could try this as a study if they want. I put it to you that if you stop 20 cars at a petrol station and said, the petrol's running out, I promise you, before long, there'll be 100 cars behind you. Right? The queues will go out onto the road. Even if the BBC is telling you, oh, it's only a couple of British petrol BP trucks because they can't find the drivers. It's only BP trucks that can't actually get to a couple of BP petrol stations. We're going to the Shell, we've emptied the Shell petrol station out. We go to Asda's emptied their petrol station out, Morrison. And everyone's saying, no need to panic buy. So if you meet me, I'm going to tell you, don't panic buy. There's plenty of petrol. So I'll say to you, you don't panic buy. Meanwhile, I better go get some. I better fill my car in. Actually, I am also involved in this. I filled my car in yesterday. I don't know, that said, I had in my mind, it's going to take me a full time to get Southampton and back. So if I don't have that, I'm going to have to say sorry to Sheikh Rizwan that I was unable to make it down to Southampton. This is human behavior. If you stop a human being, just stop a human being and tell him to stand and stare at something on top of a building. Before long, he's going to have a group of people who stand around him. Why? Because in our very nature we mimic. And we mimic things that we think that are important to us, important to us, or we mimic things which we find incredibly beautiful. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, in his teachings, was always the most beautiful soul in every possible way. In his appearance, he was the most beautiful. Because, your heart, no Muslim or no non-Muslim, everybody's heart is always inclined towards beauty. You always love beauty, and beauty is a good thing. Inna Allah Jameel, Allah Almighty is beautiful, Allah Ta'ala is a Noor. And Noor is whiteness, it's a beauty. People want to mimic things which are beautiful, or they want to mimic things which they think are important to them. And so now I'm appealing to all of you parents at home, before you send your children into the masajid and you ask them to go and learn from Al-Hayat Center, what are you giving them at home to mimic? Have they seen you pray so that they can want to mimic you? Don't you notice that when you pray at home, your children and your grandchildren, they want a sajada, they want a masala just like your masala. And they want to stand on it just like you stand on it. They want to do a sajda just like you do a sajda. But here's the problem. If you don't consider it important, there is no way, absolutely no way, that your children will consider it to be important. And if you are just sending your children into the masajid in the hope that the children are just going to come back better, they're not. They're not, because they are going to mimic the things that are most important to them. The most important thing to a child is his own parents. Don't you see that your children talk like you, they walk like you, they behave like you? So if you're giving them the wrong impression that some things are not important, they're picking it up. They're picking it up from you and they're learning that. And they will never hold and deem the dhikr of Allah Almighty. And this dhikr of Allah Almighty, and I'm going to finish with this. The problem with physical, and this has been our key problem throughout our existence. The problem with physical is that you can never ever perceive the metaphysical. You can't. I can't. You can't. We just can't do it. لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. The physical can't perceive the metaphysical. But Allah Almighty says the metaphysical does watch and know everything about the physical. لا تدركه الأبصار. Your basarat will never ever reach him. وهو يدرك الأبصار, but he reaches and understands every single thing that is going on in this dunya. And you need to understand, and you all really need to start living by this. Your existence in this dunya is connected to Allah Almighty. I go back to Pascal's wager. if you're going to wage that Allah Almighty does exist, it is better for you to wage that and lose and sacrifice some of the luxuries in this dunya. Lose your sleep in the morning and get up for Fajr. Lose some of your lunch break to offer your Zuhr. It's a small price to pay when the greater benefit is that in the Akhirat you will be rescued. And if you think that the metaphysical is far from you, then you're wrong. It's possible for you to be far from the metaphysical, but it is not possible for the metaphysical to be far from you. Allah Almighty is Qareeb. You can become Ba'id, you can move away from Him, but He has always been there and He is Qareeb. He is all around you. Do you know what it takes to simply go back to Him? A single moment of Tawbah. That's it. A single moment. This is what you're here for. That single moment of Tawbah when we say, Ya Allah, forgive me. And if you just turn to Him once, and the Prophet ﷺ said, if your sin stacked up right the way up to the sky, but you turn to Him once, Allah Almighty's sifat of Ana Qareeb will never ever change. Allah Ta'ala's sifat of Ana Ghafoor will never ever change. Allah Ta'ala's sifat of Ana Rahim will never ever change. If you turn to Him once, He will forgive you for absolutely everything. You build that connection with Allah Almighty. Your children will build a connection with Allah Almighty. Perhaps in that way, we can also become like those people. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ. The believers are those who, when Allah's name is mentioned, وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم, their hearts actually begin to shake. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ, when His verses are recited upon them, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. May Allah Ta'ala increase us all through the words of the Quran, through the Adhkar of Allah Almighty, through the Islam of Allah. يقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم.
MashaAllah, beautiful, as always, beautiful and inspiring Ustaz. I've just received myself was aptly talking about the food that we eat and how important it is to for our consumption to be on point. With that being said, the food is being served next door, and the sisters are requested to make their way next door to have the food there. They'll be able to listen to the talk there, inshallah. So there'll be someone who will be leading them, the sisters to make their way next door, and food will be served. We have the honor, and there's a lot of food, mashallah. So please do stay behind and don't leave without eating. We have the honor of now listening to the words of Imam Bilal Sahib, who's an inspiration of mine, and who's someone who, from a very young age, inspired me always. I remember coming back from Jamal Karam when I was studying. So I went to Jamal Karam at the age of 11 in 1999. And in Jamal Karam, we would come back from the holidays and we would spend some time in the masjid, or it's Ramadan and it's Laylatul Qadr, and the Imam Sahib would be there. And I'm 12 or 13 years old at the time, and he would say, Imam Rizwan is going to give a talk today, and he'll give you time to. And sometimes, I would attend knowing that I'm going to be speaking, so I'd have to prepare something at the time. So I always prepare what I'm going to do, because I knew that whenever I go to the masjid and Imam Sahib is going to be there, he lovingly is going to call me up, and I'm going to have to, to speak about something. And it made me, it gave me courage, it gave me confidence, and it built character. And this is essentially what Imam do, to build character in people. And he certainly is one of the finest that we have. Give that Imam Bilal Sahib, if you could please do come up and bless us with some words of wisdom, and Jazakallah for your 2 minutes.
الحمد لله حمدا كما ينبغي لجلال وجهه ولعظيم سلطانه. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في الإنجيل والقرآن الكريم: من كان يريد حرث الآخرة نزد له فيه ومن كان يريد حرث الدنيا نؤته منه فما له في الآخرة من نصيب. وقال نبينا وحبيبنا صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث: من كانت نيته الآخرة جمع الله شمله وغناه في قلبه وأعطته الدنيا وهي راغمة، ومن كانت نيته الدنيا فرق الله عليه أمره وجعل فقره بين عينيه ولم يأته من الدنيا إلا ما كتب له، أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وكريمنا ورحيمنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد كما تحب وترضى وتصلي عليه. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. After hamd salat, سب سے پہلے تو میں اپنی زبان میں ہدیہ تبریک پیش کرتا ہوں محترم حاجی صابر صاحب کو، ان کے سارے خاندان کو، ان کے بیٹے بیٹیوں کو. اللہ تبارک و تعالیٰ نے انہیں اپنے خاندان میں ایک ایسا بیٹا عطا فرمایا جو ان کے لیے دنیا و آخرت کا ایک سرمایہ ہے. اس حیات سنٹر کے قیام پر حضرت علامہ شیخ رضوان صاحب اور یہاں ان کی جتنی ٹیم ہے، ان کی لوکل کمیونٹی میں جتنے ان کے سپورٹرز ہیں، ان سب کو میں ہدیہ تبریک پیش کرتا ہوں. Before me, I have missed few speeches and the blessed recitation from Honorable Qari Sahib. Alhamdulillah, I had a chance to listen for Honorable Scholar and Ustad Ulama, Hazrat Allama Hafiz Gul Sahib. As always, it's a very interesting topic they pick up and it touches the heart, Alhamdulillah, and may Allah give us tawfiq that we should keep ourselves in the lines which were given and instructed by us to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. آج کے دن کے لیے میں نے قرآن حکیم کی ایک آیت مبارکہ سورہ شورا کی ایک دو حدیثیں آپ کے سامنے رکھتا ہوں جو ہمارے لیے ایک تعلیم کا سامان ہو. Just before me you were listening about the different part of our being, physical, spiritual and intellectual. Alhamdulillah, there are many markets outside which will fulfill the needs of our physical side. And probably at some level they will be fulfilling the need of some sort of intellect hunger. But there is a real hunger in ourselves we need to be worried about. And inshallah, Al-Hayat Center in our life will be fulfilling that need, which is a hunger of ruh. These are not different from each other. These are very, very close connected to each other. Maulana Rum Rahmatullah said, Tanz-e Janz or Janz-e Tan Mustūr Nes Lake Kasra Dide Dusturnes. They're not too far away from each other, but very few people know actually what the distinction between them. So let us be realistic, and we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that again we have one more supermarket there where you are going to buy, you are shopping for akhirah. As Allah Sahib said, there is no difference between deen and dunya, but there is a difference between dunya and akhirah. So some people, their whole struggle and strive is only to achieve the fame, the wealth, the dignified life, and the prosperous life, and so on. But there are people, they are not worried about only this. They always, in this dunya, which is a very, very important time, and very, very important every second and minute of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created an abas. أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. We are not wasteful material. We came for a purpose, and we are not supposed to be wasting our time. For this reason, it is important that we have to have the balance between those physical and intellectual and spiritual side. We should have a tawazun and balance between that. And mostly what happens? We're worried about what sort of food, what sort of diet we should have, and what sort of university I'm going to pick up. And that graph goes high and high and high. But there's a need from inside as a believer. How you develop yourself, that graph sometimes goes up and jump down, and then breathe again and go a little bit up and then jump down. It should not happen. The masajid and marakis and madaris and institutions like Al-Hayat, inshallah, it will be giving you the new life and new support for your spiritual. And the main asset is our young generation and future, our future, and how they are taken care of. And alhamdulillah, this will be. I'm just coming back from West Africa. Niger and Mali, I have been there. And I was working on a charity trip. It was Muslim Hands, some project, and we went to visit them. And we have some office in Nigeria as well, and we couldn't go to Nigeria, but there were one scholar who came to see us. We were discussing about the condition of the Muslims there. It was shocking that how fast speed is the Muslim leaving Islam and going to the other religion of Christianity. The reason is need and poverty. The reason is social life is destroyed. And there are some other reasons. They have done some research as well. And one of the reasons was they did not have the institution in the mosque. They were serving them and providing that spiritual need which is going to hold them firm with their deen. This was the shortage. There was a shortage of it. And it was really something happened just to probably open our eyes. And I was sitting in the plane. On the next seat, on my right, there was a lady sitting, and she was going to do degree in public service topic, something in Bradford. And then she done the master from Nigeria. And because I was very fresh with the information from Nigerian community and the brothers there. If there's anyone from sitting here in Nigeria, normally I don't mention the name, but please forgive me. It's just for to wake up, I'm mentioning the name. I'm not supposed to be mentioning even the name of the country, but I'm just mentioning it just to reality what is happening. And we were discussing a few things and study and things. She was asking me things. She saw me there and doing something, reading something, and she asked me a few questions. And then I was reluctant to ask what is her name or what religion she is and something, because it was not very good to directly ask someone, but slowly, we ended up before plane landed, half an hour before, I was able to know that how she is. She said, my father was a Muslim, but I am Christian. And it was the proof of Sheikh Nuruddin Ibrahim, who told me from Nigeria, that this is happening with the Muslims. Then I asked, how it happened? How it happened? Your father is Muslim. And they asked, what is your name? He said, my name is now Rebecca, but my original name was Al-Hayat. You see? So, why I'm mentioning this, although my topic is a totally different thing, but I'm mentioning this to link to this. One of the things which is painful, I'm telling you, that when society does not pull together and help each other, then our generation will be destroyed. And when we don't give the value of our religion and deen, then we will be finishing. A lot of countries, in Africans and countries and in Asian countries, a lot of Muslims who came, and some of the lucky ones, Allah has chosen them to build the mosques, to build the institution, to help the people to the deen. And some of them, they got married, they didn't bother who is he, Christian, Jews, atheist, Hindu, Sikh, who is it? They didn't bother about it. And they just for this material world, they indulge in so much, they forget everything, their values, and what happened? Allah can save them as well, we pray for them. But normally it doesn't happen. When you are challenging your basic values and leaving them behind, you don't give them importance. What happens at that time? You will end up suffering and you are destroying your future in this dunya and akhirah. These institutions are very important for our young generation. And one of the other reasons as well, which Sheikh Nuruddin mentioned, that ulama we have, they are not paid well. They are not taken care of them. Some of the shuyukh of Tijani Silsila and some of the other Silsila, people come and give them hadaya and they do serve ulama. Some of the ulama and imams, they have small shops, selling small kiryana store, small things for the kids and surviving on them. So how a scholar is have a time to teach the young generation and look after his own kids as well. So it's very important that I'm not complaining or anything, but I'm telling you the reality. If you give chance to your scholars to work for deen and give them free hand and give them honor and dignity, it's not that you have to make them king or make them something superficial and they are angels and don't make them pope. Just give them the right which Islam gives to the scholars and ulama, and just request them, please, serve deen. We will take care of you. And then you will see the result of your own generation, inshallah. This is my message and congratulations to you. You know, I'm very happy today to see Imam Rizwan, alhamdulillah, here. I saw back then, my father-in-law back then, I saw, you know, this we are asked to pray to Allah, Rabbana, hablana min azwajina wa zurriyatina qurrata a'yun. This is our qurratu a'yun. This is the coolness of eyes. Ali Sabr Sab's coolness is here. Sayyid Sab, Ahmad Sab, sorry, their coolness is there. MashaAllah, his wife and the other teachers, they're training the other teachers as well. They're best congratulations for me. But just for blessing, take some few words of the Quran and Hadith as a lesson and take care of your children. You know, this life is very important, but you have to be worried about life after. We have to be more concerned and more serious about the after. How much? I'm telling you, this is very strange. We are so much careful, so much intelligent to opening the business, mindful about that, talking to this consultant, that expert, doing the survey and doing the research. What sort of business will be flourishing more? You're very, very intelligent. But what happened to you? What happened to us when we are talking about the Akhirah? When there is no your consultant of these points are going to help them. They're only Deen and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is going to give you the support. What have you done for him? This is the main thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Shura, ayat number 20. And before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahu latifun bi'ibadihi subhanahu. You know, if you look at the word latif, it's a great word in the Arabic language. When Allahu latif means Allah is the aware of a minute needs of his servant. मैं आपको अपने दुख बताऊंगा तो आपको पता चलेगा, आपको डॉक्टर को बीमारी बताऊंगा तो पता चलेगा, साइकोलॉजिस्ट को पूरी अपनी विपदा सुनाएंगे तो कहानी सुनेगा। अल्लाह अलीमुन बिज़ाति सुदूर, सिर्फ अल्लाह की बारगाह में झुकने की देर होती है, हाथ उठाने की देर होती है। वो इतना लतीफ और करीम है, वो आपके दिल की बारीक सी बारीक ख्वाहिशात को जानता भी है और वो कवी और अजीज भी है, वो ताकत भी रखता है कि वो उन ख्वाहिशात को पूरा भी करे। इरशाद फरमाया मन कान युरीदु हर्सल आखिरा नज़िद लहू फीह। Anyone who is intending to sow the seed for akhirah. Hars is a word used for seed and for harvest both. ये बीज के लिए भी इस्तेमाल होता है और जो आपका फसल पक के तैयार हो जाती है ना, उसके लिए भी इस्तेमाल होता है। हर्स का मतलब मन कान युरीदु हर्सल आखिरा नज़िद लहू फीह। अल्लाह ने फरमाया कि जो आदमी ये नियत करता है ना कि मेरे इस अमल से अल्लाह मेरी आखिरत बेहतर कर दे, Allah फरमाता है नज़िद लहू फीहा, we will increase in his rizq, in harvest. We will give him more and more. He will walk one step, my rahmat will receive him with the 10 steps. वो एक कदम चलेगा, अल्लाह की रहमत 10 कदम उसके करीब आएगा। वमन कान युरीदु हर्स दुनिया नुतिही मिन्ह, और जो शख्स दुनिया का सिर्फ इरादा करता है, always thinking about, there's some brother, if you will sit with them for half an hour, 15 minutes, you will be shocked. They will be only talking about, oh, my koti is there, my bungalow is there, my business is there. Always they talk about their rubbish, this old dunya, which is very important, but it is not forever. जरा सा थोड़ा सा झटका किसी हार्ट को लग जाए, कोई दिमाग को लग जाए, सारा कुछ उस वक्त आंखों में आंसू आ जाते हैं कि यार मैं सब कुछ कर रहा हूँ, what's happening? So it's very important that وَمَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ حَرْثَ الدُّنْيَا نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهَا, और जो जिसका इरादा सिर्फ दुनिया के हासिल करने का होता है, हम क्या करते हैं, उसको उसमें से कुछ अता करते हैं. We give him some of this dunya. Not all what he wants, not everything what he wants. We don't do everything what he planned. He doesn't succeed. Sometimes he goes up and down. His income goes faster. ये देखें अभी ये कोविड के दौरान Amazon ने सबसे बड़ा पैसा कमाया, हमारे टेक अवे वालों ने सबसे ज्यादा कमाई की है इस दौरान, अल्लाह उनके रिस्क में बरकत डाले. But it didn't happen with everyone. For some it was destroying. They gone to ground. It is different, this dunya. But even the person who lost everything, if he is a believer, he thinks, Alhamdulillah, मेरा राज़िक़ मेरा रब है, वो रिस्क उसके ज़िम्मे है, वो जितना मेरा रिस्क है वो मुझे ज़रूर अता करेगा. So this is very important. وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ نَصِيبٍ. Particularly when someone leave this dunya without iman, whatever the good work he in this dunya does, Allah will give him the reward. Whatever Allah wills in this dunya, he will not have any portion of his ajr sawab in akhirah. The difference between the intention and of earning the dunya and intention of earning the akhirah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned two things. The one whose intention is akhirah, his reward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nazid lahu fiha. We will increase for him. And for the dunya Allah said, we will give him a little bit from that, what he is asking from us. This is the main thing. And then the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, these are the 7 things which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that anyone who passed away and he is not able, when someone leaves this dunya and gone to akhirah in the qabr and the grave, so he is not able to pray, he is not able to do charity, he is not able to do anything. He is not able to teach the kids, he is not able to learn the Quran or teach others. So he done whatever he has done. But the Prophet ﷺ said there are 7 things. If someone does, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the reward even he has left this dunya. Number 1, Man 'allama 'ilman wa fi hadithin akhar wa nasharahu. Anyone who learned the knowledge and taught to the others. ये बंदा टूट जाएगा दुनिया से चला जाएगा, लेकिन जिन को उसने एक हर्फ भी पढ़ाया है, अल्लाह ताला उसका अजर व सवाब उसको अता फरमाता रहेगा कब्र में. और अजरा नहरन और हफरा बिहरन, किसी ने someone has dug the big river or jadwal or small canal to irrigate the land, that where people can be fed, or animals can be fed. Or hafara bihran, or he dug the well, or warasa nahlan, or he has planted the tree, or bana masjidan, or he built the mosque, or warasa mushafan, or he has given the Holy Quran to somebody to recite from. Or taraka waladan yastaghfiru lahu ba'da mawtihi, or he left any child, son or daughter, they are asking forgiveness after him. These are the 7 things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone who has done these 7 things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even after death, he will be getting the reward for his work in the day of judgment. Look, here what you will be doing, inshallah. You will be learning and teaching others. You will be police al-musahif, you will be giving the Quran to others. You will be, alhamdulillah, building the masajid, and you are giving this institution as a work of the masajid will be delivered here. So these will be, and there will be tarbiyatul abna. The children should be brought up in a way that they should be able, after the death of their parents, they should be able to ask forgiveness from Allah for their parents. So at least out of those 7 actions, you will be doing here at least 4 or 5 actions which will be for your akhirah. And this will be your big supermarket to go and spiritually feed yourself and feed your akhirah need, inshallah ta'ala. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, this hadith was, the hadith just I finished is in Sunan Ibn Majah, Musnad Ahmad, Tabrani, Musnad Bazzar, and Muhaqqiqeen has mentioned this as the sanad of this hadith is Hasan. And there's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam which is reported by Sayyidina Zayd ibn Sabit, Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And this hadith I'm going to read, the final one, is again in Sunnah Darimi, Sahih ibn Hibban, Shu'ab al-Iman, Imam Bahaqi, and Hafiz Muhaddas Iraqi, he said that sanad of this hadith is a jayyad as well. There's shown, man kana, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that, man kanat niyyatuhu al-akhirah, jama'a Allahu shamlahu. I will ask everyone, अपने बुजुर्गों से भी कहूँगा, अपने नौजवानों से भी कहूँगा, कि listen this message, take home this. This is the today's langar for you. There is another langar which is served now, probably, and you will be having very soon, inshallah. But that is the one part of it. But this is the, very special lesson for today. Man kana, you have to make your intention clear. Man kana niyyatuhu al-akhirah, jama'a Allahu shamlahu. Anyone who lived the life with the intention that, oh Allah, please, this action will be rewarded in akhirah for me. I am building the mosque, I am helping this center, I am teaching the kids, and I am doing this good work, for the niyyah of akhirah. Jama'a Allahu shamlahu, all the worries he has, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take away from him. وَقَنَاهُ فِي قَلْبِهِ, and Allah will make his heart rich. There are two types of rich people. One who has a very flattened bank balance, but he doesn't have time to eat, he doesn't have time to feed himself, he doesn't have time to look after himself, but he always calms down, always going through this process. It means that although he has a lot of money, everything, but unfortunately he is hungry. His qalb is still very, very hungry and thirsty. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, anyone whose niyyah is akhirah, the second reward Allah will give him, Allah will make his heart rich. وَأَتَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا وَهِيَ رَاغِمَةٌ. And the world will come under his feet by rubbing her nose. The dunya will come to that person whose niyyah is akhirah, the dunya will running after him, inshallah. So this is what it is. Our teacher, said, always teach us, make the niyyah that you will be doing your own work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin. They used to give us example of a compass. They say that there's a one needle of the compass always attract towards that magnet. So your heart should be always, wherever you are, whatever the environment in which you're living, but you always remind yourself, I'm living in this dunya for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ. So niyyah is very important. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ كَانَتْ نِيَّتُهُ الدُّنْيَا فَرَّقَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرَهُ. This is something, if you really take care of these words and listen carefully, most of us going through this stage or status in some time of our lives. The Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who is caught in this dunya, his intention to just grab this dunya, and the material world is always indulged in this, فَرَّقَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرَهُ. His affairs are totally upside down. He's confused. He doesn't know what to do, where to go. Upset from the children, upset from the economical life, upset from neighbor, upset from family, and so on. فَرَّقَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرَهُ وَجَعَلَ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. The other one who was working for akhirah, Allah made his rich ghani, made his heart ghani and rich. Doesn't matter, whatever he worked hard and he tried to give the food to his kids, provide the needs of the family and everything, and he didn't have much money. But Allah made his heart ghani who was working for the akhirah. And this one, وَجَعَلَ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. He has a big store, big money, cars, houses, every material, imaginable things he had. وَجَعَلَ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. But at night when he go to sleep, he always worried about, oh, what happened with that business? What happened with that business? I will be losing there. I will be losing there. So, جَعَلَ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. So, his The fear of the poverty, fear of I will become hungry, I will become poor and needy. This fear, the shaitan tells him, look, you made mistakes, you're going to be in trouble now. Shaitan is telling you. Why? Because you will not have to eat anything, you will not have to feed yourself. You totally forget that I have a Razik who can give rizq to me. جَعَلَ فَقْرَهُ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. Anyone who lived in this dunya, only for the intention is this dunya, the faqr and the fear of the poverty will be in front of his eyes. وَلَمْ يَأْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا قُتِبَ لَهُ. في حديث آخر إِلَّا مَا قُدِّرَ لَهُ. This is the Prophet ﷺ said, and running day and night, shift 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, running around, can't fulfill my needs. Always running around. He doesn't know how many times I need to pray. Did I have done the wudu? There was a time of Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib. No, I was busy. Astaghfirullah al-Azim, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. وَلَمْ يَأْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. Allah will give him the only what is his maqsoom and muqaddar. He will not get anything more. وَلَمْ نُؤْتِهِ مِنْهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we will give him the little, whatever he is struggling for. So my message with you today, my dear brothers and sisters, we are very lucky, alhamdulillah, to have today this opening center of Al-Hayat. I don't know the background of this name, but Al-Hayat is a life. And I hope, inshallah, this center will be providing a new life for our young generation. Life of Ruh, which is Chirag Temtemar. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, a fresh life of our Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is markaz ko kamyabi ata farmaye. We always, if no one can do anything, just pray for your brothers and sisters who are working. And luckily, alhamdulillah, you might become one of our brothers. Although, we pray that Allah should give in every brother, every town, some Muslims who are doing the good business, or they have money, they should come forward and help the brothers who want to serve Deen. Alhamdulillah, a young brother in early 40, he was a businessman, real estate businessman. He has donated about more than 700,000 pounds worth of building as a sadaqah jariyah to his father, and asked us to serve for Deen. And this is what is happening in Highwaycombe, this beautiful town. I'm at your service all the time, inshallah. And we welcome, we miss him actually. But I was thinking, if it would have been in our control, probably he would have been with us, close to our heart always, but physically he would have been, I would have been seeing him day and night to ask him to work, and we want to see you and listen to you and get benefit from you. But there are some decisions which is not in our hands. Probably Allah knows better. This could be, I think, we're not supposed to be, even from the scholars of the Sufiya says, don't say even loud. Don't say even, I wish I would have done this. It would have been like this. Don't say it. Even Sufiya, they don't like it. They say, this is Allah's decision and Allah's muqaddar. He worked hard. He had some good friends, alhamdulillah, and students. And I hope, inshallah, may Allah give you tawfiq and bring barakat and futuhat in your efforts. And the sisters who are teaching there, the brothers who are teaching there, make it a hub of knowledge, alhamdulillah. And may Allah give us tawfiq that we should make the good niyyah and intention. And this Al-Hayat Center should be for this dunya and for akhirah. Our kids should be learning in few years, inshallah. There should be a flourishing young generation coming, alhamdulillah, practicing Deen, loving Deen, and upholding the values and the dignity of Deen. And why I mentioned the story of the Africa in front of you, to just waken us up. Take care of your kids and be mindful about their future. Don't just give them only clothing and worried about good university and good school. It's very important that we have to be worried about their knowledge. This modern sciences as well. They should have a best. They should end up in highest rating universities, top universities. Yes, we wish that, and we should struggle there to go there. But don't go just. The graph of deen should be following them. It should be with them, taking care of them, and they should understand that my deen is my priority, and they should love Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they should be aware that I can sacrifice everything, but I cannot sacrifice my deen for other things. We can leave dunya, we can leave parents, we can leave material world for the sake of deen, but we cannot sell deen for dunya. This is very, very important. This is the teaching comes from the Sahaba, the Muhajirin, the As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun, min al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar. They left their business, they left their family, they left their social life, they left their fame, dignity, and brotherly and clan and hardship and everything sacrificed for the Islam. They left Makkah al-Mukarramah, went to Medina. So, and then they spread the message of Islam through all the world. Inshallah, with the good intention, I hope, with the young, energetic mind, inshallah, in front of you, leading you, I hope, inshallah, you will be getting the more benefit. And send your children to Sheikh Saab, and inshallah, with their support and company, I hope, inshallah, this area will be getting the more and more benefit from there. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين والمؤمنات إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
MashaAllah, we spoke to the Imam Sahib. Always an inspiration, always an individual who as soon as the Prophet is that when he would speak, he was succinct, he'd be concise yet comprehensive in speech, and that's perfectly epitomizes Imam Sahib, that the things that the Prophet ﷺ said, I've been given afdaliyya and superiority over the previous prophets. Those things were not specific only to the Prophet, they were specific for the Prophet's ummah. And through the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ, they were passed down to his nation, and he's one of those individuals who has that honor. I'm extremely thankful. I'm thankful for all of you being here today. I know you've waited a while. There's brothers next door saying, mashallah, we've got a lot of food here prepared, and everything is ready. When are you going to send them over? I'm getting messages every 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm saying, look, everyone, no one's going to go without eating. They're going to take food along with them as well for their families. But at the same time, it's important to realize the reason as to why we're here. We're here to learn, we're here to benefit, and we're here to grow in our connection, first and foremost with our Rabb, and then with our Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's our purpose, and the talks that we heard today are precisely that. This centre is a centre for the people, it's a centre for the services to the religion. It's a centre which has been a dream of mine for a long time, facilitated by my own father, who was one of the, for me, being here in this position today, my wife and I could both attest to this, that our parents, without a shadow of a doubt, and as can you, that our parents are the leading lights in ensuring who we are and where we are today. 5th of June 1999, I turned 11 years old, and it was 2 months later, in September, I was in Jannah al-Nafaz. We got the gift that is going to be given to you for your birthday is going to be the gift of Jannah al-Karam. And at the time, I was extremely excited, being the youngest of 10 siblings, and my brothers and sisters ahead. Someone who was always, never pushed, always had all the love and care and affection. And that dream of going to Al-Karam, I remember, I'm going to share the story with you. My brother's right here and he can testify to this. I initially wanted to go to Jamaica. Really, you know, I was desperate, I was passionate. I said yes, because it was this exotic thing, you know, going to boarding school at the age of 11, I think is something amazing. So as soon as I got there, everything was fine, and my parents dropped me off, and as soon as, when you see that car driving away, that's how nervous about it. When you see that car driving, it hits you. I'm alone now. This is real. This is happening. And you see that car driving away, and you think, I think I made a massive mistake. And it goes, and immediately I decided at that very moment that that's it. I made a mistake and I'm not going to come back. I knew that, well, it's too late now. There's no way, telecommunications are just too good nowadays, it starts out. But back then, we had to go to the payphones and make a call. So I knew it was too late to go home now. But I knew that I was going to go home the following weekend. So the first weekend I got to spend with my family. And, you know, so that I couldn't wait. Monday to Friday went by, I was breezed through it thinking, you know what, that's it, Friday, I'm going back home, I'm never coming back here again. And Friday, my brother-in-law, my brother-in-law's here, and my brother, they came to collect me. My father doesn't even know this. They came to collect me, and when they came to pick me up, I had all of my bags packed. You know, the suitcases that I had brought with me a week prior, everything was packed. And they said, you know, you're only going for the weekend, we're going to drop you back off on Sunday, why do you have everything packed? And I said, no, that's it, I'm never coming back to this place again. I made a big mistake. So I remember my brother turned, he's older than me, but younger than my brother-in-law. When he was 17 at the time, I think 17, 18, he turned and looked at my brother-in-law and said, what should we do? And my brother-in-law said, listen, let's go home. Let's take him, put them in the car, let's take him home. And then your dad can deal with them when you get home. And we went home from Bradford to High Wycombe. And as soon as I got to High Wycombe, there were people at my house congratulating my father. MashaAllah, his son spent, you know, he's gone to Jamaica. And I saw that and I thought to myself, oh, look how, you know, how happy it is. Rida Rabbi fi Rida Rabbi, right? I genuinely understood that from that very moment. I thought, my father's so happy, let's do it. And I genuinely went to Jamaica for the sake of my father. At the time I didn't like it. Alhamdulillah, I grew to love it. But at the age of 11, I was a child. And it was, I remember Ustad Abdul was a teacher in Jamaica in the Higher Islamic Studies department. And at the age of 16, when you would leave after year 11, the students were leaving. And I had plans to go to college and to university and everywhere else. And you know, my father would often get asked, you know, he's been there for 5 years, how many years does he have left? Is he leaving anytime soon? And my father would say, no, he's got 3 years, he's going to Dasar, and after that he's going to Azhar, and he's going to study in Jamaica. It was my father's dream. And subhanAllah, unbeknown to me, it became my own. And we are here because of our parents. And my message to you is that for those of you who have your parents, honor them. Their guidance, their leadership, their support is unequivocal. For those of you who haven't, you know what you've lost. You know what you've lost. For those of you who are parents, it's imperative that you understand what kind of a role that you play in your children's lives. How you can. I was a child, I had no idea. I couldn't, you know, I wasn't mentally capable enough to make those decisions that my father made for me, and I'm standing here today because of them, as a result. This center is here as a result. And you know, so this is incredibly important. My wife, for the same, for my own father-in-law, each and every individual who takes this path or takes this journey. من خرج في طلب العلم كان في سبيل الله حتى يرجع. That whoever goes out in such a knowledge is the path, you're on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until you return. This is the path of Allah. And the path of Allah can only be the path of Allah if determined by your parents and if supported by your parents. If you have that connection there with them. I know that if I ever took a decision without the support of my parents, it wasn't going to be one that would be successful. And knowing that this centre is only here as a result of our parents is, for me, the most beautiful thing. And this is not High Wycombe, this is Southampton. I'm originally from High Wycombe. And my father, would love for this centre to have been in my hometown. But it's here. You plan, Allah plans, and Allah is the best of plans. Please continue to keep it occupied with the dhikr, with the remembrance of Allah. It's my job to. This is, my area of expertise is not in building or in being a project manager or making sure everything. My area is in providing knowledge and leading the masjid. Our job is to teach your children, and we're going to do that to the best of our abilities. So please do continue to, both financially and spiritually, in du'as to support this institution, and you will see it flourish, inshallah ta'ala. I'm going to give the mic to Imam Jalali, and I'm going to request Imam Sahib to make a du'a. Imam Jalali is going to make du'a not only for us and the centre, but he's going to, and for each of you. There are members of our community who are suffering from illness, whose parents are, his brothers here today, whose parents are suffering. May Allah grant them shifa, may Allah grant them that which is best for them. For our parents and their good health. Also, a special dua for my brother-in-law, Ijaz, who passed away. May Allah grant him the highest of stations in Jannah. May Allah grant his parents who are here, and may Allah grant them the noblest of stations. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite them in Jannah, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Can I request Ustaz to recite 3 times Surah Ikhlas? So, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد
آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيد النبي وعلى آله وصحبه صلاة دائمة مقبولة تؤدي بها النور العظيم. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم انصرنا وانصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم استرنا بسترك الجميل فإنك أنت خير الساترين. واغفر ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم. إله العالمين سورة اخلاص شریف اس کے تلاوت کلام پاک کیجیے، اس کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول منظور فرمائے. حضور نبی کریم رحیم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کی بارگاہ بے پناہ میں اس کا سوال بطور ہدیہ و تحفہ عرض کرتے قبول منظور فرمائے. جميع انبیاء و مرسلین، جميع صحابہ کرام، اہل بیت اطہار، حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کے والدین کریمین، آقا علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کی امت کے جميع انبیاء علماء صوفیاء فقراء صالحین صالحات، مومنین مسلمات مومنین مومنات مسلمین مسلمات مومنون، بالخصوص شیخ رضوان صاحب کی باب اللہ جناب علی اعجاز صاحب کی اس کو ثواب پہنچا کر اللہ ان کی مغفرت فرما. اللہ تبارک و تعالیٰ اس کے علاوہ طارق صاحب زرین صاحب ان کا انتقال ہوا، اللہ ان کی مغفرت فرما. جتنے بھی نمازی اس مسجد سے متعلقہ ہیں بیمار ہیں، اللہ تعالیٰ انہیں شفاء کاملہ عطا فرما. جتنے بھی ہمارے خاندانوں میں دوست احباب میں اساتذہ و مشائخ میں جن کا وصال ہوا، اللہ ان سب کی مغفرت فرما. الہ العالمین الحیات سینٹر کو حقیقی معنی میں اس کو حیات بنا کے اس پورے علاقے کے لیے فیضیابی اور مرکز کا ذریعہ مرکز بنا اور ان کی اس صلاحیتوں میں مزید اضافہ فرما. اپنے پیارے حبیب صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کے وسیلے سے جتنے بھی احباب ان کے سپورٹر ہیں، معاونین ہیں، ڈونیشن جنہوں نے دیے ہیں، اللہ تعالیٰ ان کے صدقات و خیرات کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول و منظور فرما. محترم حاجی صابر صاحب اور علامہ احمد صاحب، اللہ تبارک و تعالیٰ ان کی سرپرستی ان کے سروں پر قائم دائم فرما. حاجی صابر صاحب کے سارے خاندان کو اللہ مزید خوشیاں نصیب فرما اور مولانا رضوان شیخ رضوان کی اللہ صلاحیتوں میں مزید برکتیں عطا فرما. ان کے ساتھ جتنے کولیگ، ان کے اساتذہ، معلمات جو کام کرتی ہیں، اللہ تعالیٰ سب کے صلاحیتوں میں برکتیں اور خیر نازل فرما. اللہ ہماری آنے والی نسلوں کو دین اسلام کی، حضور علیہ السلام اور پیارے اپنی اور اپنے محبوب کی اللہ کریم نے محبت سے منور فرما. اللہ ان کے دلوں میں اپنی محبت کا نور نازل فرما. الہ العالمین ہماری آنے والی نسلوں کو ایمان پر استقامت اور ثابت قدمی نصیب فرما. یا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا علی دینک، یا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا علی دینک، یا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا علی دینک. اللهم يا مجيب الدعوات يا ارحم الراحمين، يا مجيب الدعوات يا ارحم الراحمين. اللهم يا ربنا يا مولانا تب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى وسلم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين.